Well, we have another video in our retirement series, team.
Yes, we do, Norm.
So our biggest fears of retirement that we had before we retired, and we have been retired coming up for 10 years.
Wow, it's flown by, Norm.
It really is. So are you scared of retirement? And if so, what is holding you back?
And I see you've got a great Genesis t-shirt on, Norm.
Yeah, back to the rock t-shirts for all our loyal fans who don't like me wearing dress shirts.
I know, but they've been missing them, Norm, so that's great that you put one on today.
So the number one fear in retirement that we hear from retirees and we read about is running out of money.
Yes.
Not having enough money to carry you to the end of your life in retirement. Are you feeling that?
So we have a solution for this. We are basically going to talk about how Norm and I handled this biggest fear that everybody has.
And you can make adjustments to this. We're not saying you have to do this. No. It's what our journey has been, and we're hoping to help some of the people who are just coming into retirement or in those final years of saving in your career. The very first one that we had was to generate enough money to live on before our old age pension kicked in and our British old age pension, and before we took the Canadian pension plan that's very similar to Social Security. We were going to take that at 60, but we had a few years where we had to fill that gap. So what did we do, team?
We sold the house, Norm.
Wow.
That was a big step for us, wasn't it?
It was.
Because we had lived there for quite a long time.
But we always knew we were going to sell our house. We'd had that as a plan way back in our 40s, and that's why we accelerated the house payments to pay it off. But if you're not ready to be a renter like we are, we sold our house and we now rent an apartment. There's nothing wrong with downsizing, maybe buying a house half the price of the one that you have so that it will generate some capital for you. And what would we do with that capital that we got from the sale of our house, team?
Well, I think the main thing would be to invest some of the money, but we're not saying all of it. In our case, we invested like 50% into equities, and then we kept another 50% out in cash, didn't we?
Yeah, so we want to be quite conservative as investors, cautious, because things can happen in the stock market. There's boom and busts. And we're at an age where we don't have 20 years to wait for stocks to come back. So as Tina said, we did invest in dividend-paying equities, and we get that as a quarterly income, and a few pay monthly, like royalty dividend stocks. Then we put some in cash in high-interest savings accounts, and then latterly, as we saw the bank in Canada cutting interest rates, the overnight interest rates, we started putting some of that cash into guaranteed investment certificates, GICs, where they were guaranteeing 5% or 5.5% for a year. So we don't have any GICs past 1 year. When we travel, we always try and protect ourselves greatly. And oftentimes we're finding ourselves in airports, restaurants, we're away from home. So those internet networks that you log onto are unprotected. They don't have passwords. And the one big problem with it is there are bad people in the world, and there are people who are trying to hack you. Cybersecurity isn't just governments over there. It can be aimed at you. And one of the biggest problems is man-in-the-middle attacks. So you might be in Starbucks, or you might be in a restaurant, or you could be in Costco. They have free Wi-Fi. and you don't know who else is in that store, and are they looking to hack you and get in between you and the website that you're trying to access. So there's only one solution that we've come up with for that.
And that is to use NordVPN.
And we put that on all our items. They're on our iPhones, they're on our iPads, they're on our MacBook Pro, and we're protected. So the man-in-the-middle attack can't get at you through the VPN because the VPN gives a specific key to your internet traffic, and they don't have the site that will accept that. So the VPN, and especially NordVPN, encrypts all your internet traffic so nobody can see it. Your internet service provider can't see it. Your government can't see it. And so it keeps you very safe and secure. And that's why we have NordVPN as our VPN. And when we're going to be in Portugal this year, we'll be using it.
Absolutely, we will. Hey, and I think the beauty is, Norm, that we can have up to 6 devices on it too at one go.
On the basic account.
Yeah, which is great.
NordVPN is going to give you a special deal. If you use our link that's on the screen right now, you will get that special offer from NordVPN. So, thanks NordVPN for sponsoring this.
But it's better for us because it gives us that higher interest rate for those, doesn't it?
It really does.
And another reason that we really wanted to keep some money in cash was that if we wanted to make some purchases, we were prepared to pay for those cash because we didn't want to have payments, did we? So that was another reason that we kept some money in cash.
Yeah, so we did end up, we went for 2 years without a car. We were using rental cars and various ride shares, taxis, just to not have car ownership. But in the town where we live, it's just unrealistic to do that. Plus, we live in an extreme climate as well. In wintertime, it gets very cold. And waiting for a bus is no fun. So we bought a car and we paid cash for that.
Yeah, we did. We gave in after 2 years, didn't we, Norm?
So all the money from the house that you can get, we recommend maxing out all the tax-free savings programs that your country might have. So in Canada, it's the tax-free savings scheme. And we maximize those contributions every year, and we have done since inception of that fund.
Yeah, it's a great fund, isn't it?
It really does. And so all the profits that you get from dividend stocks within the TFSA grows tax-free, and you can withdraw it tax-free because the money that you put into the TFSA, you've already paid tax on. So it's a great scheme.
I think that people might also be wondering, Norm, is sort of how much do we budget to live on? We're currently, our budget is around $3,000 a month.
Yes, it is. And in the early days, we were able to live on about $2,500 a month. But we've loosened the reins a little bit because we gave in for cell phone plans.
Oh, yes.
We got internet and all that good stuff. So we, rather than be on a very tight budget, we decided that $3,000, and that pays everything. That pays our rent, which our electricity is included in the rent. And so we live quite comfortably, but that is just day-to-day living. It's nothing to do with travel.
No. But it takes care of like insurances and everything like that. But as Norm says, when we do our travel, the travel comes out of a separate fund. As we've mentioned before in the past, we do have a travel fund, and we set that up when we first retired, didn't we?
So we did sit down with a pen and paper, and we worked out how much we could afford every year for travel. And we came up with an amount of $25,000 per year. And we were confident we could fund that for 10 years. So that would be $250,000 in travel
And what we have found is, particularly when we had a break during the COVID time where we weren't traveling, is that we actually haven't pulled as much money as we thought we would. And we've ended up actually topping it up. We've not depleted it as much as we thought we would do, which is nice.
And we still shop bargains for travel. You know, in the past, we've talked about impulse sales on grabbing a deal for like $5.99 to go to Reykjavik in Iceland, which was a marvelous trip, very cheap, included the flight, included the hotels, and I think we even got breakfast included.
That was a fabulous deal. And I think another thing that's really important, Norm, is that we do recommend that you become debt-free. That's a major part of handling this fear of money running out.
Yeah, if you really want to have a stress-free, as much as you can, retirement, debt is just no good to you. We advocate getting rid of the debt. And so we did that in our 40s and 50s. We paid off our house. We stopped paying into a retirement fund because the returns weren't that terrific. So in those days, our mortgage rate was about 6%. And so we just made additional payments into our mortgage. So we were earning basically a rate of interest on our money of 6% by paying that debt off. And we've remained debt-free. We don't have credit card debt. We did when we lived in England, and we vowed when we came to Canada that we would never carry a balance, and we haven't in 30 years.
No, we learned a big lesson there, didn't we?
Very much so.
Kind of what we're saying to people is if you're running up a credit card and you are paying like 20% interest on the credit card,
at least these days,
then you have your money in a savings account at say 3 or 4%, which is crazy to be saving some of the money in a savings account when you're giving it all back a lot higher when you've run the credit card up.
So the nominal rate of interest would be over 20% on your credit card. So why put money away into a savings account at 2 or 3%?
Yeah.
I think that's what Tina's saying. So if you're in your 50s, you're looking at retirement, make debt-free become one of your major goals towards retirement. And it will take a lot of the retirement fears away from you. Mm-hmm. We also like to shop the flyers because we're cheap.
No, we're not known. We like good value for money. And we just got a whole pile of good meat deals recently, haven't we?
Yeah, front page of the flyer is the stuff to buy. So we're always on the lookout for that. And we don't mind buying, 2 or 3 trays of meat at good prices, portion it up, freeze it, and we save money.
Yeah, it's great.
And because we're saving money, we can invest more and we can travel more. So what are your biggest retirement fears? Perhaps you could share them with us in the comments section. And I'm going to link to a video just in front of me here where you can click it. With another video that's very similar to this one that you might find interesting. So we hope everybody's keeping well.
And staying safe.
And until the next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.